Hey, I want to welcome everybody today. I wanted to talk a little bit about insurance. My favorite nine-letter word, maybe, or maybe not, but this is an important part of our business for sure. I've learned a lot about insurance agents, different policies, and all of that. And I think it's really important that you select a great partner to partner with your insurance for insurance agent for your childcare center. On the line today, I have Mathew Borg with me, and Mathew is a local insurance agent here in the Grand Junction area. And I just asked him if he would spend a few minutes today just kind of talking not only about his own experience and professional practice, but also to help guide those in our local area and maybe outside our local area on how to locate a good agent, what to look for, what kind of things are important. So, Mathew, hey, thanks for giving me a few minutes today.
Hey, I really appreciate the opportunity. It's a blessing to be able to be part of this, and I appreciate the opportunity to be able to provide some value and give you some answers and some input maybe that you might not have been able to have an angle to without having an agent be able to get on the phone and talk to you about that stuff.
You got it. Well, I can tell you that 15 years ago, when I picked my agent, I picked the one that somebody else told me to use. And so I didn't I didn't really have any guidance other than someone said, well, this is who everybody else uses. So what I've learned is when you pick professionals, it's a good idea to interview them a little bit. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself, about your insurance background?
Yeah, I really appreciate that. So I was originally licensed back in 2000. That means I am in my 20th year as a licensed insurance professional, and we're licensed in the state of Colorado as well as Texas. And we've focused our efforts not only on the personal side, but also the broader spectrum of business, workers' compensation, general liability, umbrella policies, business policies for everything from mom and pop shops to multi-million dollar organizations.
So, and then what kind of insurance companies do you have in your portfolio? You mentioned that different sizes and so forth, and also what experience do you have working with childcare facilities?
Yeah, I really appreciate that. So, as a local agent, as an independent agent, we are part of what is called in the industry an aggregator. The aggregator that we are a part of basically pools their production among several different agencies, sometimes within a single state and sometimes throughout many states, to be able to increase the production that they have. That means that they have a better look from multiple different carriers. Right now, we have access to a couple of dozen different admitted line carriers, some of our go-to carriers that we would let you know about. We've got American Modern, we've got Builders Tradesman Insurance Company, Berkshire Hathaway, Dairyland, we've got Foremost, Guide One, Liberty Mutual, Travelers, Markel, Nationwide, Pinnacle Assurance, Safeco, State Auto, U.S. Assure, Secura. It seems like an ever-growing list, but these are some of the go-to carriers that we have. And then we also have access to other carriers that we may not know as consumers, like we do a Liberty Mutual or a Travelers or a State Farm or something like that, because they are either a second tier or what's referred to in the industry as an excess or surplus line carrier, also known as non-admitted. But we, as insurance agents and agencies, have the ability to be able to access these policies through brokers. So we can broker out and actually reach a broader list of companies that, albeit we may not see them in commercials, no less of any companies, they can have billions of dollars in assets and really cater to a specific niche market, if you will, or they have an appetite for a specific niche market. We've been working with daycare facility centers for the better part of that 20 years, everything from workers' compensation to liability aspects of coverage, property coverage, and everything in between. There's even some professional liability in there too as well.
You know, one thing that my experience, because I have a great personal agent, and Matthew, you don't have any of my personal lines, but the personal agent that I've had, we've had a great relationship for at least a decade or more. but childcare was not something that he wrote. And he did write some commercial policies. And as I've, there was a time, 4 or 5 years ago where I started shopping for a different agent than the carrier I was with. And I found it kind of surprising, but learned that I feel like most agents either it's something they have experience with and want more, or it's something that they are glad to pass on to somebody else with more. So I feel like if someone's looking for an agent, find someone that is not going to practice on you, but rather has got a few centers maybe under their belt.
Yeah, I think that's great input. Just like with anything else. I mean, if you want to get a cake for your birthday, you're going to go to Walmart and get a cake, or you're going to go to the custom cake baker, for the big special event, somebody who's got the experience and the wherewithal to be able to put together exactly the kind of cake that you want for your special event. And it works that way in insurance too. If the agent or the agency doesn't specialize or at least have a repertoire and a background of experience in a specific niche market, then you're exactly right. Sometimes it can feel like you're kind of their guinea pig. You're their practice, to be able to do more. And there's a lot of moving parts when it comes to child care insurance. I mean, there's all kinds of different facets that are involved in that when it comes to insurance and liability mitigation that you just don't see in other businesses. It's a completely animal unique to itself when we talk about insurance.
Well, I would agree with all of that except for the cake baking, because one thing you don't know about me is that I am the cake baker of the family. And with all our 4 kids, it was Dad that went to, I do breakfast and I do barbecue, but I apparently do birthday cakes, and I have since our kids were toddlers, man. And had some fun time baking some cakes. I'd go out to the shed, make a mold, and throw all kinds of crazy stuff in there, go to Walmart. It was a fun time. Wow. So, but definitely don't call me to bake a cake for any of your loved ones. It won't be accepted the way my kids adore my cakes.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, that's neat. I didn't know that.
So, one of the things that, and this goes for many facets of our business and others, whether it's somebody comes to you for janitorial and says, hey, are you interested in some janitorial different cleaners? And what I've learned to say is, I'll take a look or listen to what you have, but you're going to have to do all the work. And so I would only just give them my information, and they'd have to draw all the comparisons, price comparisons and all that. And I found that true with insurance, and the way I ended up with you is basically by turning everything over, and all the work was done on your end. And that's one thing that I really liked. I really felt like my business was valued in that respect. And so, if you're considering working with a childcare licensed agent, someone that can write your business, I would definitely let them go to work for you. And I think that if they impress you on the amount of work that they do looking at your childcare center, and they're bringing up questions that you've never been asked before, that to me feels like someone's looking after my best interest. And one other thing that I liked about having you have as a local agent is that you came onto my site here in Fruita and in Grand Junction, and we're able to walk around, so you're able to see firsthand what my needs were. Whereas before, my agency was out in the Denver area. Never saw them, and never came out to visit over the 11 years that I was with them. But tell me about some of the uniquenesses of being able to be on site, and how that applies to maybe a childcare facility, because we are certainly all different and unique.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate that too. And the world is changing, and technology is moving at such a rapid pace. We've fast become, a click and order instead of brick and mortar type society. And we've lost that kind of personal touch, I think, when it comes to small businesses, and especially when you've got something that has got as many moving parts as a daycare facility, when, insurance is rated by all kinds of different things, from the amount of money that goes through the business to the number of kids, let's say, for example, are in a daycare on any given day, the amount of payroll that goes through there. the property and how it's built. What basically makes up that structure. And oftentimes, unless you are actually there, unless you can actually get a tour of the facility, you have the potential to be able to lose some of what you would have been able to see if you'd been there in person. We always like to be able to make that introduction personally, to be able to look at. We want to be able to see the facility. There's some things that you'll be able to be aware of, and potentially even be able to make recommendations to, as an insurance professional, to the business owner, if you see something that could end up being a challenge or a hurdle or something that, we could change or tweak a little bit that would really make it a lot easier to be able to overcome, or even allow other markets to be able to consider a risk, whereas if they didn't know otherwise, they could just kind of give you the Heisman and say, yeah, hey, thanks, but, no, we don't want that risk because we don't know enough about it. Or, they've got this one thing going on where if I show up at a facility and I can walk through and I can see some stuff and how things are going, I might be able to make some recommendations and say, hey, as we submit an application, here's some things that I think they're going to be wanting to know a little bit more information about, and being able to have that conversation ahead of the game before losing another opportunity to be able to get another quote or see another company being able to come and bring an offer for a proposal on their insurance.
Yeah, I know one of the things that we talked about early on is when I expanded and now opened up a second childcare center, just having those conversations, those contacts, the concept of being able to have my general liability under one policy and my workers' comp under one policy. I don't remember the numbers exactly, but it was over $2,000 in annual premium savings for me. And I think that's just mainly attributed just to have someone that is interested, vested, hands-on, having consistent conversation, not just once a year right before your renewals are done. So, I appreciate all that as well. Hey, can you tell me a little bit about, we've got your Facebook page here. You've got a website. Tell us a little bit about your Facebook page. What do you use that for?
So the Facebook page we basically use to be able to let people know about stuff that we may be involved in, or to be able to put some information out to the public to be able to help people understand and grow in an environment that they don't really have a handle on. Most of the consumers that we talk to in our insurance agency, Kirk, they realize from the minute that they walk in the door, when we start talking about insurance, that we're coming from a different point of view than a lot of their experiences or all of the experiences that they've had in the past. A lot of times their experiences is that, I thought it was all just about price. We want to make sure that they understand the product that they're looking at. We want to make sure that they understand what they're paying for, and also be able to identify some exposures potentially that they may not have been able to see. And sitting down and having those conversations really kind of helps that. So we try to keep that conversation in the forefront by putting important topics out there onto social media, and currently working on a blog to be able to do a little bit more of the same, but in a little bit more in-depth way.
Sounds great. And I see your Facebook page. You can find that by going to @YourInsuranceAgentNow on Facebook, and then also here your website. Your website address looks like. Go ahead and tell me what your address is.
www.yourinsuranceagentnow.com.
Perfect. Sounds great, and we've got that up as well. So, hey, I really want to thanks for all your time. I appreciate it. And is there any last parting words you've got for anybody?
You know what? I think that it really pays to shop. It really pays in the long run to be able to, number one, you want to be able to feel comfortable with the people that you're working with. And I like the word that you used, partner, because that is in essence really what you're doing. As a business owner, you pay a lot of money to be able to mitigate the liability that you have, and you want to be able to get the most for the least amount of money. You want to be able to realize the biggest return, and that increases your valued experience. If you can walk in the door, feel good about who you're working with, and know that they're going to jump to be able to bring the help that you need and want, then you're getting over probably one of the biggest hurdles that there is. If that same prospect or interviewed, if you will, agent can be able to take it to the next step and be able to bring you product or multiple products they're going to give you a better value than what you have now, or different elements of coverage, then it's really going to pay off in the long run, because you could really end up with more for less. And I want to thank you for the opportunity. I really value our relationship. It's been great to be able to work with you, Kirk, and be able to get on the horn and hopefully be able to provide some value for some of those other business owners that may be scratching their head and wondering if they got the best deal or the best coverage that's available to them out there.
That sounds great. So I'm going to leave everybody with one tip. I hope this works well for you, and that's this: is that sometimes when you hear a great idea, the next thought through your head is, I just don't have time to act on it right now. And I would say when we're talking about thousands of dollars, because your insurance is probably between, I'm going to take a rough guess and say 1.8 to 3% of your total expenses per year. It's something you don't want to sit on for the next few years. So here's one piece of advice, and you might try this, is when you find an agent you're interested in working with and you trust them, to come in, invite them into your office, reach into your file cabinet, grab your 1, 2, or 3 folders of insurance papers, and let them sit at a desk at your facility and go through and get all the information they need to then go out and give you a quote. Because sometimes the thing that stops me is I don't know what they need. I don't want to dig. I don't want to take time. Let them come into your office, hand them all that stuff. They know what they're looking for. That allows them to give you the most competitive, maybe comprehensive quote. And that might just be enough to get the ball rolling for you. So anyway, thanks everybody. Hope this was helpful. Have a terrific day. And again, thanks to Matthew for joining us today.
Thank you, Kirk. Really appreciate it. Have a great day.
You too.